told your friend you're not okay? And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Welcome back to the Journey of Life podcast. I'm your host, Tendi. This is the podcast for you if you're a young woman or young gentleman or other, really, who's looking forward to great things in life, improving yourself, healing yourself. This is the podcast for you. On this episode, we continue the Debrecen Diaries. Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at Jolpodcast. You can follow me, your host, at Tendaisha Monalisa, and you can follow my hair page at Tendi's Blessed Hands. Today we have a special guest, and I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about and nervous at the same time. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. Do I introduce myself?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
You can.
My name is Bukumi Adjose. I'm 27 years old, quite old these days.
Give them the credentials.
I'm technically a doctor, actually.
Technically?
Yeah, technically.
You are? Don't let that imposter syndrome get you.
Yeah, but I'm a doctor. I graduated 2022 September from the University of Debrecen, and yeah, we thank God.
Amen. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Guys, I think I met you like, how many years ago was it?
It's actually a long time ago.
A long time ago. And I remember back then we were pioneering the Students' Day Freak.
Yeah, Students' Day Freak, actually.
So, yeah.
It's been a long journey.
So good times, hey?
Yeah,
good
very,
times.
very good times.
Yeah, I think my own perspective of this guy is, he's taken a lot of us through. I think we should give you your flowers for how much you've been so helpful to the student community, for us medics. I'm pretty sure other people as well. I mean, you're always sharing information, making all these groups and participating in them. I think it's a special gift that God gave you.
Yeah.
And I hope that like those blessings follow you wherever you go and you don't stop being this person,
Amen.
I can imagine how exhausting it is. You had your own school to take care of, but you're sending, information, past papers, messages, and I can imagine the amount of people who are just messaging you directly to ask for stuff. So thank you for being, the person that you
we thank God. We thank God.
Yeah. So today we're going to dive into something that's kind of fresh for me. But yeah, before we get there, I think for the education segment, because at the podcast we first give some information, some education, because most people in Debrecen are students currently.
True.
And I think it's just relevant, since I just came out of the state exam for general medicine, for us to talk about like maybe you can share how the state exam is like, and give us some information.
Yeah, just some basic information. Well, for the state exam, after you finished all your 6-year courses, I think 6 of them, psych, internal, surgery, peds, obs and gyn, and neuro. Yeah, and then you finish all those. You've done your thesis, which actually you should have finished your thesis like 3 months before. Yeah, you should have finished it, submitted it, and then defended it actually before the state exam. And then you make sure you're not owing the school any money.
That's true.
Do you know, it's so crazy? Like, some people have to shift their whole graduation because they're owing school like something like 500 for rent, and then they receive the message like last minute, too late, and you have to transfer money to your Neptune and all those things.
And it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time.
I remember my friend like realized that, fortunately it happened on time. She realized like, I think she was owing the school like $10.
Yeah.
That's it. So you have $10, but maybe you don't realize it on time, and then blocking everything.
Yeah, I would advise people to do this because this is what I did. I emailed Eva like almost like 3 weeks in a row, asking her, do I owe the school any money? Do I have anything I have to do that will stop me from graduating and any of those things? So she replied me, she was like, no, 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 no. I think even for some non-medical students, they find out that like they have some one credit, like they've not done PE or something. I actually had a friend that happened to, they hadn't finished one PE. I don't know if they didn't get signed or something and they didn't notice, and that's how they couldn't graduate. So many small things. Just make sure like there's nothing that will hinder you from graduating. Yeah. And then you end up starting the preparation for the state exam.
Yeah, actually, I also realized I hadn't submitted my thesis on the bank. That's the uni bank where they have all the theses and stuff like that. And, I didn't realize that. So just in case, even if you've defended your thesis and submitted it, make sure you also submit it to this bank. I forgot the name
it's
of
like
the
a library.
website. Yeah, it's like it's like a library. You also have to submit your thesis there, and it has to show up there when you search for it. Yeah. So, and then we go to the big one, the state exam.
The state exam. Yeah. So should I just talk about it a bit?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, the state exam is like, there is the written part, which there is a question bank. Let me just say like 5,000 questions. Multiple choice. Well, when I say multiple choice, I mean single choice, multiple choice, like option 1, 2, 3, and then some matching questions. And like 5,000 of those. All the 6 major subjects are there, internal, the ones we already mentioned, and then there are there's some other ones like public health, odontology, ophthalmology, small ones like that. So that's the written exam, which you mostly prepare for. There is a website for it where all the questions are listed, and you just basically have to study the question bank, and no questions actually come up outside of that question bank. All the questions come from the question bank. Yeah, it's actually the funny thing is we were talking about the state exam in front of some younger students, like in 4th year, 5th year, and they were like, oh wow, just send me the question bank now, let me start preparing. I'm like,
it's not that deep,
it's not that serious, but I'm gonna send it to you just so that
if it makes
you feel better. Yeah,
so I sent other things to take care of than that question bank, I promise you.
Yeah, so I sent it to the person just so they're satisfied. But yeah, that's the question bank, 5,000 questions. It's not up to 5,000, but let's just say 5,000, rounding up the number. And then you have the oral part of the state exam, which consists of the practical and then the final oral. The oral exam is going to be in the 6 major departments: internal, peds, obs and gyn, those ones. And on the day of the exam, you go to EC by 7, and then you pick your department. Just like randomly you pick your department, and then you go to the department, and then you like do the practical part. Take your test check Monday if you have it. You can mostly use your phone to like Google Translate and stuff. You get the patient information. Then based on that, the patient's history, you have like a note that you've taken all the details of the patients, the history of the patient, the drugs, everything. And then like 2 hours later, you now have the main oral where there are like 4 doctors, right? And those 4 doctors would question you, and all the 4 doctors are from different departments. So if your topic is related to something from that department, they'll also probably ask you some of those questions, and then hopefully you pass, and then you get your 5s, and then you're done. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah. And for the written exam, I believe like it's like 2.5 hours long. You don't really have to come dressed up like you would for the oral exam. And then that's pretty much it.
You can also carry food. I don't know if they told you that, but you could carry some snacks.
I mean, it's not like you can take a break during the exam to eat it. So I think I don't get that part.
You probably wouldn't feel that like hungry.
Yeah. So for me, I'm just like, you can bring food, but it's not like you can take a break and eat the food during. So you can eat maybe just before or bring food to eat just after, because it's really long, 2.5 hours. So what would you say is the average preparation time for the state exam?
I would genuinely, I would say it depends on the person.
Of course.
Like genuinely depends on the person.
So I said average because some of us we like to work under pressure.
Yeah.
But like, what would be a good...
Okay, so let's say if you're planning your 6th year and you're trying to finish your exam and you're like, what would be the ideal situation? I'll say 3 weeks.
Okay.
3 weeks is the ideal situation. Now, if you, and this is like, I'll use myself as an example a little bit because I struggle with like cramming stuff a lot. Like when it comes to like minimals, when it comes to just like question bank, obviously you can read and understand it, but a lot of cramming is involved also, you know.
Absolutely.
And
for me, I thrive in cramming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like for me, it was a bit challenging to cram the whole thing. So I would say ideally, if you're planning and you want to give yourself the best possible chance, 3 weeks is enough. Yeah, 3 weeks is a good amount of time to finish it. And I would say, in those 3 weeks, focus on the written, and then, because after the written exam, you have like a week. Within the week, you can focus on the oral part. And but if you know that if you're feeling a little bit tense and you feel like you should read the oral part, you can just revise a little bit of the oral. But 3 weeks for the written and a week for the oral is enough, in my opinion.
Granted, you've been, studying, all the other stuff, like let's say consecutively, because obviously if you've been on a dry hiatus, you can't expect to prepare even for the oral exam for just a week.
True. All things being equal. Yeah.
So I think probably that's most of the information concerning the state, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys have been educated and you've gotten a feel of it. I mean, I feel like this is not information I found out until it was very close. I was just literally like a few weeks away. That's when I started to look for this information because everything was super intense. Like I did the big three. I did peds, internal, and neuro in like 3 months.
Oh wow.
So it was
hectic.
It was really hectic. And then I had like 1.5 weeks left to state.
Oh wow.
So now we start and I was exhausted.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So now I'm starting to like try to cram up this for the written state exam.
Yeah.
But then again, I tend to work better under pressure, but there's only so much pressure a human being can handle.
That's true.
And I think for me, if we compare to reading dense theoretical knowledge and cramming, I'm better at cramming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So guys, all in all, I took my written exam because you take that one first and then a week later you take the oral like they said. And wow, I failed it. I failed it, guys. I failed. Let me say it out loud. Let me release it. I failed it. I failed it. I mean, I think a part of me knew that was a really high possibility, like because I did not finish the question bank.
Oh, okay.
Obviously. I don't think I was even able to finish the big six, which maybe if you're running out of time, make sure that you finish the big six.
Yeah, focus on those ones.
Because they hold the greater percentage of the questions. And then I missed the pass mark by like 3 points.
Oh, actually, that's the same thing happened to me.
Like, so I know that if I'd
pushed a little bit more,
yes, maybe even in that time, if I pushed myself more, or in general, if I just had more time to prepare, it wasn't going to be like a difficult thing for me to achieve. So I think that gives me hope for the next trial. But I'm gonna tell you, I really did feel disappointed, and I'll say that I actually felt a little bit embarrassed. I feel like these are feelings that are associated with failure.
That's true.
And I wanted to talk about it in the moment because we tend to talk about our failures in retrospect. Yeah. When the success has now happened, that's when you want to be like, but so I even failed. But when it's happening and it's there, it's intense. You kind of go through it alone. The disappointment alone, the embarrassment, the shame. But I decided, what? I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to talk about this. And the best person I chose was you. Because I actually remember there was a graduation I bumped into, because we always bump into each other at grad. And I was like, hi, how are you doing? And I think I asked you. And now looking back at it, I hate those questions. But I think I asked you and I was like, oh, so when's yours? Or, whatever. And they were like, actually, I meant to graduate. And you were just so open about it. I meant to graduate, but unfortunately, I didn't pass my written exam.
Oh, wow, I said that?
Yes, you did. You did. And I remembered it.
Oh, wow.
So I actually remembered it, but I didn't want to bring it up if you weren't comfortable talking about
I
it.
see.
You know what I mean? So even if you weren't going to talk about it, like I wasn't going to like force you to talk about it or ask you to talk about it. but I wanted to talk about my own, and I knew that you could relate, and even that alone would be enough. So I felt like, okay,
wow.
You were always going to come on the podcast, but I had no idea what we were going to talk about.
So this is fate.
And then this happened, yes. and this happened. So it was tough. How was it for you?
You know, when you mentioned that, like, talking about your failure in the time, you know, as you said, like, throughout my medical school, one thing I've really, because, you know, you are sort of like your history, you know, in a way. So when I was in high school, I actually used to fail a lot. I used to fail like a lot. And when I said I wanted to come to medical school, it was like my parents were looking at me with the side eye, like who's this guy? Chill out a bit, you know. But by God's grace, you know, I found myself in medical school, and I think failing a lot in high school helped me have like a positive relationship with failure, you know, because every time I failed, my mom always used to tell me that I know you're not stupid. I know you're smart. You just need to put in more effort. You just need to read more. So you can do it. Necessary. And like, I didn't even know the impact of that, you know, like I never knew the impact of it. But every time I failed in medical school, I never felt like bad.
You're nothing.
Yeah, I never felt like, I just felt, I didn't study enough. I need to study more. I can do this. I'm very smart. That's literally all that used to go through my head. But I actually realized that a little bit later when I was encouraging my other friend that failed also, and I'm like, why are you feeling like this? Like, you've been passing this whole time. You can do this. Why now because you fail, you're feeling like, you know? And she was like, when she failed, her parents used to say certain things to her, and it was like, oh, okay. So I started thinking about myself, and I was like, oh, I think actually it's my mom's role that actually like impacted this in me, because I doubt, you know, people have failed as much as I've failed in high school, you know. But because throughout the whole medical school, you know, I took on a role of like helping people and encouraging people, and in a way, I portrayed myself like I can always be there for people, you know. And that also used to push me a little bit when I'm studying, because I want to be a good example to people, you know. So throughout the whole medical school, I haven't really like let me say had a failure that had consequences, you know. Maybe I take A chance, B chance, boom. Okay, I've never even reached C chance, you know. So yeah, so when I failed this state exam, it was like it was a huge shock, you know. And I had 3 weeks, to be honest with you. I had 3 weeks. I had a lot of time. But I, let me say, underestimated the material, and I overestimated my ability to cram. I overestimated my ability to cram. So it was actually just my mistake, to be honest with you. Looking back, I say everything worked out perfectly, as God would have it, but it was my mistake that I failed. And the acute reaction when it happened was like, I felt bad, because I was like, oh my gosh, like my parents, I'm going to tell them I failed. They were also excited that I was going to pass and everything. And for me, those are like the number one people, you know, like, oh, my mom, my dad, how would they feel about this? Everybody else, you know, it's like, it's secondary, you know. But obviously my parents were very encouraging. They didn't like even shout or do anything. They just said, oh, you feel, I remember I sent my dad a text message, and I sent my mom a text message. Then I sent my sister a text message, my younger sister, because she's in Budapest, and I'm like, well, I'm going to switch off my phone. If you can't reach me, trust me, everything is okay. I'm just going to sleep and just relax, you know. So then I called my dad. Then the next day, my dad called me, and he's like, I remember the first word he said, he was like, oh, Bukumi, how you doing? I said, I'm doing fine. He said, oh, so because you failed an exam, now you want to start crying? I said, Dad. I was like,
can a guy experience what he's experiencing?
Yeah, he's like, and then I was like, even thinking about it now, like, I still feel a little bit emotional, because, like, I felt like I had disappointed them, but my dad was just like, no, people fail all the time. You should not like let this failure have any impact. Just, you know, pick yourself up, go and study. You can do this. It's not like you didn't study. It's not like you didn't do everything you needed to do. So just pick yourself up. And those were like very, very encouraging words for me personally, you know, because it's my parents that I don't want to disappoint, you know.
And they are the ones encouraging you.
Yeah, exactly. So, after that, there was the battle to actually tell people, or to just like keep it to myself.
you
know.
And the thing is, I think you know what they say, that the devil thrives in secrecy, thrives in darkness, because I think that's how you can eat yourself up the most, when you're keeping a secret. It doesn't even matter if it's like something big or not, but keeping this to yourself, you magnify it, you make it mean everything that you are making it mean that it doesn't mean, because you're keeping it to yourself. But by releasing it, you actually realize that this is not a defining moment of who I am as a person, as a guy, as I don't know, as a future doctor. All these things that maybe if you sit with it and you hide it and you keep it for yourself, the shame around it continues to grow, the embarrassment around it continues to grow, and how you're starting to view yourself based off of that one failure will also become more and more negative and deeper.
That's actually very true. There was a temptation to like isolate myself, and I hadn't battled any of this like throughout my whole medical school. So it was actually very interesting to me to be like, oh wow, Bukumi, even you can still face this sort of like thoughts and challenges. So it was very, very interesting.
You're human.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think that, oh, you know what?
I'm
always telling people you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be okay, you've got this, and then now you are in that position. And I think you also realize how much you also need that reassurance from other people. You can't give yourself everything, actually. You give other people, and I think that's why we thrive as a community, because we have something to exchange or give each other. I think I'll tell a little bit my experience. This is literally a couple of weeks ago, guys. So I took it. And obviously when I go there, I'm seeing, my mates and everything like that. And there's like so many of us taking this written exam. So already, that, okay, all these people, we're all looking towards graduation and things like that, And after it, I knew that with what I had, I gave it my best shot with what I had studied and everything. And I took my time. I tried to think. I tried to stretch my neurons. I really did give it my best shot with what I had at that point in time, right? And then I was like, I don't even know what will happen. Maybe I'll pass, maybe I won't pass. But like when the reality now sunk and I checked and I saw that no, I actually failed, it hit me.
Did you go through your questions to see if you could find any points?
No, I didn't. Same here. I accepted it because I already knew. I didn't finish the question bank, and I already knew that I'm absolutely capable. So I don't need to fight to scrape a pass when I know I didn't apply myself 100%. So it's okay, But still, imagining, I think the things that were surrounding that failure, that I now have to tell all the people that have been looking forward to
your graduation,
my graduation,
right?
my family, my friends, that okay. I told them that I still have this hurdle to jump first before we can proceed to graduation and stuff. But like now it's a reality that it's not happening. And I have to tell them, so obviously the first person I told, my mom, and I think my mom has played this role in my life. But unlike you, I think my entire primary high school education, I was stellar. I was top of my class.
Really?
I was flying like a freaking kite. So I won't say when I came to uni, failure was not a familiar concept. I had failed in my high school. I think my last, I wouldn't even say failed. I didn't succeed to what I expected. You see, I still treat it like it was a failure because that's the mindset surrounding that. I didn't perform at the highest level. So I think these are some of the lessons that I'm even still learning in my adulthood, to realize that like the things that I succeed in or that I don't succeed in, they don't define me as a person or my complete capabilities. If anything, they tell me my limits.
True.
Or how hard I need to apply myself with certain things. You know what I mean? So of course, med school, if you never failed, wow, good for you.
Congratulations.
Whole 6 years, 7 years, you are a special person for sure. Congrats.
Yeah.
But I think most of us face some failures throughout med school. But like you said, I never faced any big consequences. Maybe I had to repeat a year or anything like that. So for the most part, we'll say then in that way, it's been smooth. But of course, I've gone to see Chance a couple of times. But yeah, that was on me, and whatnot. So now I'm here at this state exam, and then I failed it. It felt different this time because I mean, my mates and my group mates have been taking their state exam and graduating since last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it didn't bother me because I knew that, oh, I still have my exams to go, I still have my practices to go, I still have this to go. So it didn't bother me. But at this point in time, this is
Yeah.
the final showdown.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm hoping and anticipating that graduation too now.
Yeah, and you know,
So
you'll be thinking about graduation.
yeah, so realizing that, wow, now I'm actually going to watch, you know,
People
have to
graduate.
watch people like graduate and everything like that, and then I'm not part of this when I was now there, or I was now hoping for it. I was like, okay, this stings.
It feels different.
Yes, this stings. And sometimes you're tempted not to want to accept that feeling, you know, because it feels wrong to feel negatively maybe about other people achieving something positive for themselves. But it's not that you're wishing bad for them, you're just feeling bad for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think I was like, I should let myself feel this way. The responses that I got, I think, interestingly, I think I'll say 99% I've gotten so much positive feedback, reassuring feedback, and all these things. And I'm very grateful to God that my mom has been that person. My mom, even if I got a 95%, she's like, do you feel like you did your best? You know what I mean? This was her question. As long as you've done your best, that's good enough for me. So if I showed up with a 40% and it's my best, it's good enough for her. That's what she was teaching me, you know? And she was teaching me to apply myself and my capabilities to my best ability.
Yeah.
But I think I never picked up that sometimes your best is not the best.
Yeah, and it's not good enough sometimes.
Yes, and it's not good enough sometimes. So I think that's something as a perfectionist I'm still battling with, that I have to learn that sometimes my best is not the best and it's not good enough, and to know my limits or to accept them, that you know what, look, you did your 100%, but you got 40, and this is your limit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we are all gifted in different things to different degrees. So I think maybe being this talented person and operating at the max made me think that I should operate at the max at everything.
Yeah.
And then realizing that no, you have your limits. There are things I can operate at the max and it's the max. And there's some things I'm operating at my max and it's like, it's not even scraping the surface, you know? So I'm grateful for my mom for being that supportive person. Like if I said I think I need more books, so I need tutoring, she made sure that would happen. But on the other hand, I think I grew up also in a society where I saw other kids who weren't as bright as me or who weren't as academically gifted, how they were treated. They were told they would be nothing. They were told, you know, they were told they were dumb.
Those kids were me in high
They were,
school.
and they were not told that by other kids. They were told that by educators, by
the
teachers,
teachers,
but all
yeah.
the people around them, by even maybe their own parents, extended family. So it still impacted me, even though I wasn't at the receiving end of this. Why? Because to me, the day I fail, this is who I am. The day I fail, I'm dumb. The day I fail, I will not amount to anything. So you can imagine if I fail, this is what I was starting to feel like.
It's like then you're automatically in that category.
I'm now in that category. So now I see myself as that. So I think that's how I was feeling. But I think I got so much reassurance from my family, from my mom, from my dad, from my friends, like, you know, and everything like that. And I allowed myself to be sad about it and to feel disappointed about it, even though I knew I didn't have enough time to prepare and all these things. But I think it's necessary to go through your feelings. And I gave myself time to be down about it and realized, yeah, I'll have to tell people, you know, and do this parade of the same parade I did. Oh, potentially graduation is that now like... I have to go on guys. So here we are. It was hard until it wasn't. But I think I got one feedback that was negative, and that sent my world shaking.
That's the 1%.
My world was shaking, you know.
Was it from a friend or?
No, it was actually from a family member.
Oh, okay.
Who I hold very much in high regard. So it really, really stung, that feedback, and I felt like probably at the time, because it was so fresh, it was really insensitive of them. But I still believe that they meant well, but I think they could have done a better job.
Yeah, maybe better timing or better
I don't know if
phrasing.
there was a good timing for that kind of feedback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, okay, I'll paraphrase it, but it was things like, oh, you know, you're delaying your time, you know, of you graduating while you're getting older. You're robbing, and this one, it's seared in my memory. You're robbing people of your expertise as a doctor. There is a shortage out there.
I see.
And it made me feel like I'm just a product to be churned out to the masses.
Interesting. That's a very interesting perspective from the person.
Me too. I never think like that. You know, exactly. So it really, really stung, and it felt like, do you think that I would actively put myself in a position to feel this disappointed, and let alone disappoint other people in the process as well? So I felt like it was very insensitive to say those things, like I'm intentionally doing it. Hell, I would never embark on this journey, to be honest. Like, if I knew how intensive it was going to be mentally, emotionally, and everything, I would never put myself willingly through, I think, the things I've gone through whilst I was, you know, pursuing this medical degree for 8 years. I spent, I think, almost 6-7 years away from home.
Yeah.
I only visited home 7 years. I would not intentionally put myself through that one.
Yeah.
I would not intentionally lengthen that process any further. So it felt really insensitive, you know. But I think there's a conversation that my mom had with me, and she said, some things you need to learn to let it roll off your shoulder.
That's true.
Because I told you, 99% positive feedback. That one feedback, I was like, damn.
Bruh.
Like, I was down one day, and then the next day I was down again after I got that feedback. So she said, sometimes you let it roll off your shoulder. You pick some things, you leave some things, and you completely ignore them, you know, and focus on the positive things. So I think that's what I'm focused on. I think that I need to stop telling myself these negative things, not because, oh, it's, you know, but because it's not true.
It's actually not true.
Yes, it's actually not true.
It's actually not true.
It's actually not true. It's
you know, interestingly, like, July is the best time to fail, to be honest. Like, July and September, I think maybe
because they're pretty close.
They're pretty close. Like, it's like 3 months, you know. So it's not like you wait like 5 years. It's not like we're having this medical degree like 5 years, 1 year,
grad.
2
You know,
years.
in some unis it's one.
It's one grad, you know. So like, failing in July is like, for even the person that made the comment, I don't know, maybe they are not aware that you're gonna graduate eventually in September, like a few months. I mean,
I'm going to eventually, even if it was like, I don't know where.
Exactly, you know.
I'm too far. I'm too close now.
Yeah, too close. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
you were saying something actually, though.
Oh my gosh, I think I lost my.
You lost your train of thought. I'm sorry for interrupting.
But no, it's okay. But I think I really realized that, you know, I need to let it roll off my shoulders, and it's not a defining moment for me. Those things are actually not true that maybe I'm feeling in that moment. I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling this, but I am intelligent. I am capable. I am hardworking. I am like, I remember I was listening to something, and they talked about, you know, if you wouldn't talk to your friend that way, don't talk to yourself that way. If I wouldn't sit here and be like, Bukumi, you're dumb. You're stupid. You're nothing. You're what? You should never tell yourself that. Oh, you're dumb. Oh, you're slow. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, wow. Look at your mates. You know, if you could never sit down with a friend who's going through the same moment and tell them those exact words, then you should never tell that to yourself.
That's definitely true. And I think sometimes in moments of failure, or moments like that you're down, some people can be very, very insensitive because they don't put themselves in your situation. And I think sometimes people say certain things thinking that is like what's gonna motivate you to become like
constructive
exactly, you know. But at sometimes when someone is down or when they fail, you need to look at the history, you need to look at the whole picture before you make certain comments. And, well, you know, hopefully the person comes for your graduation.
They'll definitely be there. But now I'm just like, you know, because I kept, you know, thinking about this and thinking about their perspective, because I really do value and respect their presence in my life. So for me, I was just like, wow. So even when I graduate, to them, it's just like, it's been a long time coming anyway.
Yeah,
like we've been waiting for this.
True.
You know, so it just made me feel so belittled. Like everything that I've done and I've worked so hard for is still nothing. And yet I think I've really, really applied myself, because I just haven't applied myself in med school. I've applied myself in so many different aspects of
Even
who
this
I am.
podcast.
Yes, this podcast. Like, I'm really pushing hard for myself,
Mm-hmm.
for my growth, for my life, and all these things. So it felt like it felt so personal. You know, it felt like you're attacking me as a person, my substance as a person. It's no longer about this exam. It's about who Tendi is. So I'm basically doing nothing. Like, wow,
Just
I couldn't even
wasting
do
time.
this thing on time, you know, that kind of thing. But I realized, I think this is a big part of what I've been learning, because I think last year, I'm yet to unpack this, but last year was a very, very difficult
Your whole
time for me.
6-year period?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
It was a very difficult time for me, like mentally and emotionally. I think I'll properly unpack it when I've written down everything, but that's the main idea. So for me to pick myself up, I think in this year, in 2023, and get to this point is something that I'm still so grateful to God, because I see his hand.
True.
Because of the struggles that I was having. The fact that I did those exams, the fact that I got to a state exam, for me, I'm praising God, you know. But I think to them, they don't realize maybe they see, oh, you know, it should have happened then, but they don't see what I had to overcome for me to be in a mental state where I can even start studying or focusing, because I had lost all of that. I couldn't study, I couldn't focus, I just got to a point, I reached like, you know, like I think, I don't know, a quarter life crisis or something like that. And I think it's not something that people can understand. And I know it, and I'm going through it. So I think it's important for you to acknowledge what you're going through. Like, always try to evaluate everything. Context. You know the context. People don't know the context.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you were struggling with something and you managed to, let's say, just pass,
get a 2, scrape by,
get a 2, and you're looking at other people who got a 5, but you're not considering the context. You got a 2, but you were really, really struggling. You fell sick. You lost a parent or a sibling or a loved one. But you pushed, and that's what it achieved for you. You did well. You did okay. You know. So context is important. Everybody's like path in life is their own journey. It's different. It has different stops. It has different vehicles. Some people at some point in their life, they are flying first class. You're on a bicycle. Like, you're on a bicycle, the tire is getting flat, like everything is falling apart. But that's your journey.
That's your journey,
And you can never compare it to anyone else's. And I think it's a very significant part of what I learned before even this happened. And I think I already have a different perspective, because even though I know that it would be hard for me to see my mates like graduate this particular time, I also know that it's not a dividing moment for me, because my time is going to come, and that's the perfect time for me, you know. And I think that also helps to kill feelings of envy and jealousy, because those feelings, they will send you to some babalawo to do some things. So I think those are feelings that are normal and natural to feel, but they're also feelings that we should learn to cope with in a healthy way. Feelings we shouldn't let fester in us and everything. So I was like, what do I need to do to preserve myself? And I was thinking, okay, is it a good idea for me to go to this graduation ceremony? You know? And there's someone very important to me that is graduating that particular graduation, and we imagined that we'll be there for each other and we'll be celebrating. I mean, at this point, it was almost like we're also going to share this moment together. But unfortunately, things didn't happen that way for me. But fortunately, it happened that way for her. So it's still a celebration time, you know, for us. But I realized that I have to be honest. How would this impact me? Because even if she was the only person graduating that day, I'm there. But the whole environment what is that going to contribute to me?
Mm.
Self-preservation.
Mm.
I think it's an important thing we need to learn as people, especially as women, because I feel like it's not something we're really socialized to do. We are more socialized to be nurturing and self-sacrificing and, I don't know, empathetic and whatnot, whatever. So I thought about it, and I'm still thinking about it. I want to be there for this person, but after that event, how is that going to impact me when I still have this thing that I still need to focus on and be fully mentally there? So I thought about it, and I'm like, there's a possibility that maybe this would not be a good idea. And I had to sit down and have this discussion that I know that this moment is very big for you, and it's very big for me too. But with how things turned out for me and how I think maybe being there, people asking me questions. Yeah, just so you know, this is my announcement. If you listen, don't be asking me questions. Now you already know. Thank you. People asking me questions.
Yeah.
It could be triggering, and maybe it could have a much, much bigger negative impact on me than me not being there for that 1 hour. So I'm still thinking about it.
Can I share, from my own experience? Actually, shortly after, because my dad was supposed to come for my graduation, he was somewhere in Europe, and then I had to since he couldn't come, my mom arranged for me to go and surprise him because I hadn't seen him in such a long time.
Sweet.
So I actually didn't show up for my own supposed to be graduation, but I also had a friend that was graduating at that time, and I probably would have gone. But since we have very similar story, I failed in July. You too, you failed in July, and you're contemplating about going for the graduation. After a few months, by God's grace, when you finish, looking back, everything is just gonna be a testimony. So in the moment, I remember in the moment of me failing, even when I was preparing for my next state exam, because then a new bunch of people were now coming, and obviously I had experience with the state exam, so they'll be coming to ask me questions, and then we'll be studying together.
Now it's pressure. I can't fail for sure.
Exactly. And now it's not my first time, it's my second time. So there's all those emotions, but at the end of it all becomes a testimony, and now looking back at it, I think everything worked out perfectly. So if I was to give you any advice, I'll just say, because even in the moment when I failed, and even till today, people still ask me, okay, so what happened in your first time that you changed in your second time, and they're like, how would you have approached it differently to not fail the first time and everything? And for some people it can be like, oh my God, I'm remembering, they are making me think about my failure. Why are they always bringing up my failure and stuff like that? But for me, I see it as a testimony. And you asked me, you told me that I told you at that time that I had failed and I was supposed to be graduating, and I'm even surprised that I said that, but in my mind, in the back of my mind, I wanted it to not be something to be ashamed of. Genuinely, I wanted it to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I failed, and I'm smiling and I'm happy because genuinely it's not the end of the world.
Yes, and I know it will happen.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm actually faking those feelings of it's not a big deal, right? There are moments when I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually failed, and then there are moments where I'm like, I'm gonna go and smash this exam. These guys, they did not know what they did. They should just have given me a 2 and I'll have let them free. But now I'm gonna go and get a 5. Exactly, So, and throughout my med school, I've actually made it a thing to encourage people when they fail, to make them realize having a positive relationship with failure is not a bad thing. Obviously you don't want to be failing all the time, but if you find yourself in a situation where you did your best and you fail, just I don't know, don't take it too
harsh.
Don't take it too hard, don't take it too hard. It's just a mistake I made and I'm gonna be better. And looking back at it, obviously I wasn't going around telling everybody that I failed, but when people ask me, I did make it a thing to be like, oh yeah, I actually failed. I was meant to graduate, but don't worry, they'll see me in September. Oh yeah, I failed, but I'll go and smash it,
And I think the more you talk about it, the less it weighs heavy on you. It's this bad thing or
Yes.
something. And even if other people, you can see that they are taking it worse than you are, but you know that how I take it is the most important thing. It's no longer a big deal to me.
And one thing is, it doesn't actually, on that day, let me tell you, on that day when you are graduating and when you walk up the stage and you pick up your diploma and your parents are there and your friends are there, that moment is so insignificant. Like, it doesn't diminish anything. Nobody thinks like, oh, do you guys, okay,
how many chances did you
yes,
take before you got here?
when they're giving you your diploma, they'll be like, okay, this is Tendi, she took it 2 times, by the way, 2 times,
Everyone, 2 times.
It becomes so insignificant, like, and like I'm telling you, like, now, it's like, okay, this is a thing. By September, when you graduate, by January, it's gonna be a testimony.
Amen.
By God's grace, everything happens for a reason. You'll just see everything play out, and it's just like, wow, I can see God's hand in this, even in this quote unquote negative situation.
And me, I'm seeing God's hand in it right now.
Mm.
Right now, as I'm speaking, because I think this June graduation was going to be extremely stressful for me. Not even just like mental, financially, and everything like that. Because, like I said, I've just been
pushing
since
through
the beginning of the year. So it's just been a lot. Like, and I think I was also doing a lot of self-work on the side as well. So it was very emotional and then physically draining because I'm actually studying, and financially draining because I had to drop everything to focus on school. So no braiding, no making any extra money on the side. So it was just a lot. And then now, and I was going through that rebuilding process from the mental, doldrums that I had. And because I had become just this person who wasn't so confident in myself anymore, I was just like, you know what, I just want everything to be over. It doesn't even matter. We'll just go to the graduation. Just give me the damn thing. Let me just go. We'll just go and grab some lunch. If we eat belows, we'll eat belows. I don't even care anymore. Let it just be done. But I think that journey allowed me the moment to take a breath, to realize what God has done for me, that it's so big. And now I get to prepare with a full heart and a full mind the graduation that I always imagined for myself, that I would always put effort in it. I'll buy, I'll wear. I don't know if I wear 3 dresses that day. I'll have a nice celebration, all those things, because it's not nothing.
Yeah, it's not nothing, for sure.
And I think, a bad mental health space, the devil, whatever, they were just feeding me all this negative thoughts and like, oh, it doesn't even matter anymore and whatnot. And it's not true. It matters.
It does matter. It does
deal.
It does
I'm
matter.
The first
actually.
For my family, and even to get here is a testimony, and we're gonna celebrate it like it is. Like it's a W. It's not an L for sure.
For sure.
So
and one thing I actually made a thing to also do because obviously we always have graduations in Debrecen, and I think like in Debrecen graduations are like a big thing. My sister graduated in like June, July, and my mom went to the UK for her graduation and everything. And
congrats.
I was looking at thank you. I was looking at the way they had the celebration, and it seemed very like chilled and mellow. But in Debrecen, like I'm like, this is it's always a big thing, And I always made it a thing, like if I'm gonna go to someone's graduation, like to celebrate with them the way I want someone to celebrate with me, because I know for a fact my own time is gonna come, and I want there to be many people that are around me happy for me. They're celebrating with me, and even them too, by God's grace, their own time will come, and somebody will be there to celebrate with them, and even just throughout medical school. So like for me, I would say like for those people who might say something or regardless of how you feel, because of this is a good friend of yours, just forget about the state exam and just go celebrate with your friend, dress very nicely, treat it as if like you were graduating that day, how happy you would be. That's how you should be, because
I will be.
You exactly and in a few months time, by God's grace, she's here, you guys will have another celebration, and it's going to be amazing. Trust me. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I really needed to hear that. I really appreciate you like coming over to the podcast. Maybe sometime if I'm visiting, we'll do another episode.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
That would
and
be
everything
dope.
like that. Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you get to learn some things. I definitely learned that I shouldn't let, you know, that thought linger so hard in my head that it will stop me from doing the things that I would want to do.
Yeah.
So with that, guys, you know that life is but a journey. So bon voyage. Bye.
Thank you.